So I'm Cynthia, the host, and I'm not an attorney or a social worker, but if you don't know, I'm a mom whose children were kidnapped, those children, and after 2 years of fighting, I did get them back, and it has been a journey. We still have struggles, battles. The children and I, we all have a great deal of different things that we suffer from due to the corruption, devastation, and traumatic events that were caused when CPS came in our lives. So now we have this platform to allow parents and family members to share their CPS horror story. And just to let everybody know that we're starting a new chapter of stories. It actually won't be stories. It's called Meet the Expert. So make sure you like that page so you can be updated on all of the interviews that I do, and you guys can participate as well. And then Candace, yes, we need to do a part 2, so reach out to my assistant so we can schedule that since your phone died. Okay, your turn. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Shierlyn. I do have 5 children. Currently, 2 of them are in foster care with with someone who I thought was my best friend for the last 13 years. She just so happens to be the ex-wife of the girls' father's brother. So she would be like aunt through marriage for my girls. She and her husband have divorced, which is my girls' paternal uncle. And I believe that she's possibly been, not really working in my favor. And I don't understand really why, because she knows that I'm a good person. But at the same time, all these stories that I've been hearing from everyone that's literally been dropped into my life, like on my front doorsteps, people are just being dropped into my life, like drug addicts and alcoholics and people that I know through other people. And a couple of them saw that I was a good mother, and they both are, I'd probably say about 3 or 4 of them have now told me, we're so sorry. CPS is making us do this. They're threatening to take our children. They're threatening to keep them from us. And I'm like, what do you mean? Do what? And it was them being dropped into my life to get things from me, to get information. And they know that they've been in my life since 2015, 2016. And they know that they've done a lot of things that definitely should have never happened. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Actually, since childbirth, to be honest with you. But my girls they're being watched by God. So no matter who they're with, I know that they're going to be okay. And I needed to know that in order to continue with my sobriety and my recovery. Because the hugest thing of with me is I don't use or drink unless I lose my kids. It is what it is.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah.
And just say, isn't that a whole different level of trust and control, letting go?
Yeah, it took a while for me to realize everything, but I realize it now. Even all of the evil that everyone tries to rain upon me, all these evil things, the jealousy, the anger, the frustrations, well, why does she get to have God, and why does she get all of these beautiful things? Look at her, she's this, she's that, and all of that is not my problem. I can't control other people and how they feel and what they think. All I can do is control what I do and what I think and what I say. And that's what's most important to me. I didn't realize it, until recently, that it was me losing my children that did bring all the issues. Because my poison is marijuana. It went from marijuana to alcohol. And then I'm just being all honest here because that's what God wants me to do, is just be honest. I did end up using methamphetamines, but that's not why my children were removed. Um, ever, not once. Was it from methamphetamines or anything like that? It was CPS. Did we want to talk about maybe how CPS first came into my life?
Yeah, let's start there. Did you ever have an experience with them when you were a child, or?
Oh, that's where the beautiful part comes in. Is my grandmother, before she was murdered in September, um, she had given me these files, and I couldn't figure out why she would give me these files. I'm like, Grandma, why'd you give me these? And it's horrible. All the things, the horrible things that were happening to me as a child, being sexually molested and, raped and tortured and all these things ever since my father was murdered when I was 2 in '89. My grandmother handed me these files that I still have, and it talks about all the abuse, the torture I endured, and all the letters that she wrote all the way up to Washington to try to keep us from my mother because of the things that she was doing to us. And CPS, they drug tested my mom and her boyfriend who were abusing us, and they drug tested them one time, unsupervised drug test. And it makes sense because when I was little, my mom used to have us, pee in cups for her probation and for CPS and stuff, and so she would hand over a clean sample. And these files, they state that we are just handed right back over to our abusers over and over and over again. And my grandmother fought for us over and over and over again, and tried to explain, like, look, like these girls are being tortured in this house, please help. And they said because my grandmother's boyfriend was the one who murdered my father in front of us as children, that because of that, my grandmother's boyfriend, he was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and he murdered my father. He shot him in the face with a double barrel shotgun right in front of us as children. I read the newspaper articles, and it says that there was brain matter all over me and my sisters, and all over the walls. And because it was my grandmother's boyfriend that my dad was trying to save my grandmother from, they said that she was not to have us. So they gave us to our abusers, my mother and her boyfriends. And I couldn't figure out why she would give me those files. Like, Grandma, why would you give me those files? Like, why would you do that? And she never told me why. She all she said was, Shierlyn, I wanted you to know how hard I fought for you. And
you said that your grandmother was murdered also?
In September. They're not calling it murder because there's no autopsy, but I have all the proof. And I approached a detective about it, and I said, look, I have all the proof. I hacked my I don't care if that's crime. I went into my aunt's phone, and I got all the proof. The videos, the pictures, the paper trail. They wanted her money, and she didn't even have money. She just worked her butt off 7 days a week since she was about 13 years old. Just worked hard, and put all this money into a 401k. And she never took a free ride from anyone. All she did was take care of everyone. And all she did was get walked all over and abused. And she was put into a diabetic coma. And she had no real serious health problems. She was put into a diabetic coma. And when I was finally alerted about it, I went down there. I lived 15 minutes away from her house. And I went over there, and they said, come say goodbye to her. And I was like, what do you mean say goodbye to her? She was as healthy as a horse. Why would I say goodbye to her? Oh, well, she's sick, and I'm like, what do you mean? So I go and I said my goodbyes to her, and I had some alone time with her. And I prayed for God to take her to heaven. And the next morning after I left, I got a call. They said, your grandma, she's doing great. She's gonna make it. And I was like, what? Like, I just sat over her and I prayed and prayed and prayed. They were like, she's gonna make it. And I was like, what? And then they put her in the hospital for a couple of days, and I guess supposedly she got COVID or something, and she got robbed of her jewelry and stuff like that. And she was taken back to the house, put back on hospice, and my aunt took her off the life support, the ventilator, I guess it was, the breathing machines. And That was 6 days after my trauma. That I was in a domestic violence relationship, and my ex fractured 6 of my ribs back in August, and I had to deal with my grandmother's. I call it a murder. I don't care what everyone else is calling it.
When the domestic violence happened, was it reported or anything?
Yeah, he's sitting in jail. I actually have to go to trial on Thursday to testify. They were offering him 3 strikes, which is life, for what he did to me. It was drugs. It was definitely because of drugs. He wasn't a bad person. He just did some drugs, and he shouldn't have done what he did. And I don't believe him serving life because he didn't take my life would be beneficial to anyone at all whatsoever.
Was he on meth?
Yeah, he was using meth. So again, though, not everyone's a bad person that uses drugs. That doesn't mean I'll ever be with him again, because I do know that I will never be with him again. But that doesn't mean that his life should be taken away. His child should not suffer because he chose to do drugs, and that was how he dealt with his depression. And he made some bad choices that I'll never have to deal with, because I'll never be with him again. I'm choosing to stay out of relationships because it was never really drugs and alcohol that was my problem. It was always I had the bad picker. I didn't know how to pick the ones that weren't, the ones that were fully happy with themselves and weren't depressed. And
I get it. Trust me.
So, because like I said, whenever there's no bad man there, or no broken man, I should say, I don't use or drink. I don't have that problem. So if that means that I have to be single for the rest of my life, then so be it. But like I said, that was always my problem. But everyone who has anything to do with any harm that's come my way, it's not my position to punish them. I'm not even sure if it's my position to even bring light to too much. But I do want my children back in, and I do believe that I'm not broken anymore, and I do believe that I can fully give my children what they need and deserve.
So let's why did CPS come in your life?
The first time?
Yeah, and I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm gonna shut this off for a minute, but
yeah, no problem. CPS came into my life for the first time. I've had a child since I was 17. I was pregnant at 16 by a meth addict and a dealer, and he was doing check fraud, identity theft. He was an adult, and I was a child. He definitely abused me on every level that you could ever even imagine. He did horrible things, said horrible things, and he just was awful to me. And I ended up not having to deal with CPS until I think 2015. So they first came in because I left my 2 daughters' father, my 6 and my 7-year-old's father. I was tired of the abuse. I was tired of the cheating. I was tired of everything, of him not working and him not doing anything to provide for us, and just provided just misery and pain and suffering. And I left him and I moved in with a church family from my church, and he had disclosed to me a night that had occurred a couple years earlier, and there was only one night just like this night that he was talking about, and he admitted to me that he hadn't molested my daughter, but that he had her touch him. And I'm not gonna lie, my first phone call wasn't to the police, and my first phone call after I got off the phone with them was to my daughter's father. And I said, what are we gonna do about it? And I didn't know at the time that he was into drugs again. And he said, no, he would never do that to my daughter, never. And I thought to myself, like, why not? You're not even a part of her life. You don't pay child support. You don't do daddy-daughter donut days. You don't do any of these things that you're supposed to do as a father. He's taking your place. And why wouldn't he? And I hung up the phone with him and I called the police. The police came and they did their interview with her. But by the time they came, she was 11, and she just turned 16. She's 11. She was 11 at the time when they did the interview. The sexual battery had happened when she was 9, and the cop came in and it was almost 2 in the morning. I said to him, like, it's so late, my daughter's asleep. She's never gonna admit anything to you. Not with how big and burly you are. You're a man. Like, I just know how it is because I was molested as a child, and I know what it's like to not want to talk to certain people, to not feel comfortable and safe. And he said, I'm so sorry. I know I want a woman to come out here and to investigate too, but my commander is telling me that I'm the initial officer, so I have to do it. So he had me wake her up. We brought her to the dining room. I went outside. I allowed him to question her. He recorded it, and she kept saying no, 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 no. And he came out and he told me, she said no, but you know what? I think the same things that you do. That it's because I'm a man and it's late at night and she's tired and she might have blocked it out. We don't know. And so then the next morning I was smoking a cigarette on the patio and she came out and I said to her, I said, sweetheart, did this really happen to you? Like, did something happen to you? Can you please tell me? I promise you, I've been away from him for 2 months now. Please tell me the truth because we need to get you the help that you need if it really did happen. Because at that point, we didn't know if he was making it up to try to get me to be weak again and to go back to him because I was doing so strong. I was so strong. I was not going back. And even without all of that. And she broke down and she said, yeah, Mom, it did happen, but I didn't know that I was doing something wrong. And I called that officer back and I told him, he said, he gave me the detective's name that was assigned to the case. And I talked to her and she told me, look, it's an investigation. So, but CPS has been notified. And I was like, oh, great. Now they're going to come take my kids, even though I left him. And
would it be too much if you shared what she said happened?
She told me that because he had this metal rod in his ankle, and whenever it gets cold, that rod gets super cold too, and so it makes him ache. Like you have to rub it, like so that way it doesn't ache. So I guess he put his leg up to cross his ankle over his thigh, and he made her think that he was rubbing her or his ankle. But I guess he moved it so close to his private areas that she had him rubbing his private areas. And so she didn't know she was doing something wrong. And I've been trying to fight myself over this for so long because I was pregnant with my 6-year-old at the time and I was sick and he had made me some like sleepy time tea that day. And he was drunk. Like I could smell his alcohol all over him when I woke up, but I couldn't figure out why. Why did I wake up at that time? And he had never been in the bed at, there was no set schedule. He didn't have to be in the bed next to me at all night long. He could have been out there watching TV or whatever, just doing whatever. And when I woke up, I just recently realized that I think I want to say like a week or 2 ago that it was God that woke me up to stop anything else from happening. All I know is when I got up and I walked out to the living room and they were underneath the covers. I thought that was strange. I thought that it was the strangest thing in the world. Not only was it past her bedtime, but it was late at night. They were watching like Family Guy or South Park or something. That was a no-no. And they were underneath the blanket. And I was like, and I said to him, I said, stand up, both of you right now. Both of you stand up. They both jumped up and the blanket fell down and they all had their clothes on and there was no zippers down or anything like that. So I was thinking like, oh, thank God. And then and I tell my daughter, I said, go in the room now. And she went into the room. She shut the door. I picked up a baseball bat and I started swinging it. And I told him, you better tell me right now. You better tell me right now. What did you do to my daughter? And I think that because I was like molested as a child and I was the one being touched, I kept saying to him over and over and over again, like, Like, what did you do to her? Tell me, did you touch her? Tell me, did you touch her? And he kept saying, no, 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 no. He was like telling me I was crazy, that, my childhood traumatized me to where I think that everyone's a molester and stuff like that. And how dare I ever accuse him of anything like that. So I didn't realize it for the whole 2 years until I found out the truth, that it was because I kept asking my daughter and him, how did you touch her? Did you touch her? Did you touch her? I didn't realize that I should have been saying, like, did you have her touch you? So for 2 years straight, I kept saying, tell me if you touched her, tell me, like, I don't, it would randomly keep coming up in my head, popping into my head, like.
Wow.
But so CPS came, they assumed that because of my family history, that with my mother, my sister, my brothers, all these people that are addicts, and they do horrible things. They do allow rape and molestation and all these crazy things to happen. And they're married to or are dating people that are pedophiles and rapists and longtime drug addicts who use people and hurt people. They assumed that that was me. So the initial worker came in, and I just found out recently that via the Facebook newspaper that she was fired, and she did get our county sued for millions because there's some kids' deaths on her hands. She did give them back to the abusive fathers, and those kids died. And that's the initial worker that I'm talking about now. She came in and she was like, "I want you to drug test," and I was like, "Good, go ahead. I don't care." And so I would go in. She would randomly call me up and say, like, "Oh, I think you're on drugs," and I'd say, "Okay, come on down. Like, come pick me up in your van, and you're gonna watch my kids because I have nobody to help watch my kids, so I can go drug test." And they refuse to let children in there. So my son, my 15-year-old son, he told me, he said, "Mom, after that first initial drug test that she thought she was gonna get me on because I wasn't on drugs and I wasn't drinking." He said, "Mom, you know what she was telling me in the van while you were inside?" And I said, "What?" He said, she was trying to get him to say evil things about me for her report, and she had her clipboard, she was writing things down, and she was questioning him, and he was like 10 at the time. And he said that she kept asking him over and over and over again, "Just tell us that your mom's on drugs, just tell us that your mom's drinking, just tell us all these things." And you know what my amazing son said? He said, "Mom, you know what I told her?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "I told her, talk to my lawyer." I don't know. We had never dealt with CPS before. We had never dealt with the criminal courts, nothing like that. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even believe that my son was that smart and not wise to say something like that. And we just both started laughing. And he goes, "Mom, you're not a bad mom." He goes, "It doesn't matter what she says." And of course I passed the test because I wasn't there to trick. Like, she thought that I was tricking the test, or that I was gonna, like, fake it or take fake pee in or something. I don't know what she thought, but that's why I was on the spot. I told her, I said, "Okay, that's fine. You don't want to pay for my gas to go 3 towns away to go drug test for you? You better come on down here with your van, and you better get us. You're gonna babysit my kids while I go on and test for you." And they watched me and everything. I don't trick the tests, and I don't do stuff like that. So, um, but so
I don't
every day.
think, I don't know how your drug test was, but the way that mine was, there's no possible way I could,
Trick
uh,
it.
yeah, because
Yeah.
uh, they're literally, the size of the bathroom was,
Oh yeah. Then they're like all deep down there,
oh
like
yeah,
staring straight at your private areas, and it's like, okay, calm down. I'm a little shy now. Like, it's hard to pee now.
well, and imagine having, issues like myself.
Yeah, I
Um,
can only imagine.
Number one, several times, and by the way, I've never touched a drug in my life. The reason I had a drug test was because I was accused of being on drugs and
Right. Yeah.
never failed a test. Um, but the the first few times I'd go in, they would say, you can't bring anything in the bathroom with you.
Yeah. You can wash your hands. You can't touch anything. Yeah.
And they wanted me to take, they said that because I had my tubes, that I wasn't able to bring my bag. And I'm like, it's attached to my stomach.
To your body, yeah. Like, oh my goodness. Like, you can't do it.
Literally attached. So I felt so violated because it's weird how you have to pretty much, like pee in front of somebody, while they're staring at you and analyzing it. But
yeah, it's hard.
Because I have tubes, I had to go in and have my shirt pulled all the way up to my chest.
Or try going in with a romper. I have to pull it all the way down. They don't care. They're like, do it.
Well, yeah, well, that's pretty much how I had to go pee every time.
I'm so sorry. That's awful. Just to prove yourself.
Somebody has a question for you. Why did you choose to leave your kids with this man if he wasn't the father prior to knowing what happened?
I didn't leave my kids with him. What is it?
So I think that maybe they think that was this happening, the touching happening while you were home?
I guess it happened one time, and it was the one night 2 years before I left him. But I was convinced by both of them that it hadn't happened. Nothing, that I was crazy, that it wasn't true, that I was delusional. I was traumatized from my childhood, that I'm just going to assume that every man is going to touch a little girl, or you know what I mean, like that. I didn't know that had happened. I was convinced at the time that it was a crazy thing, that I was using my childhood to accuse somebody that wasn't doing anything wrong. He was abusive towards me, and I was in a domestic violence relationship with him. That was something that I did do. I take full credit for that. That is not something that my kids ever should have been witness to, or ever even known about, because they should have a strong mother who will take accountability and responsibility, and will never try to teach her children that it's okay to be abused by someone, no matter who it is. So that is something that I did do wrong.
And abuse in any way.
Well, like, exactly. Yeah, because he was all of those. He was verbally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. He was all those. And it was something that I definitely, I do take fault, and I do take accountability for that. That is something my children never should have been witness to, because it probably made her scared even more to not tell me, because she was probably scared that I'd go back to him even if she did tell me.
I get that fear.
He would continuously tell me, like, you're white trash, and you're gonna die alone just like your mom, and like, just treat me like garbage. And like I said, at the time, my poison was marijuana. that was my drug, marijuana. And that was before, even until recently. I didn't realize until God healed me of all my traumas and all my pains and all my problems, that I was convinced that the marijuana was being used for my depression and anxiety and all that. Because originally, when I went into CPS's care, custody, I went in with mild depression, and by the time I left, but I'm still here. I'm still in their care, I guess you could call it. They diagnosed me with PTSD, severe depression, chronic anxiety, severe depression, bipolar depression. They diagnosed me with all these things, and I just recently found out, this last case that I got open in December, that 9 times out of 10, the social workers, because they wanted me to sign something. I haven't signed anything on this case, not one single piece of paper, not even for my attorney to get paid. It says that I'm to allow CPS to hand my file over to all my therapists, my psychiatrists, my drug and alcohol classes, all these things, that I'm to sign over a piece of paper that says that CPS can give them my entire history, so that way they can diagnose me based off of my history, not based off of, yeah, that's what we do. We didn't know that. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's what, because I was like, I went in with mild depression, and it was because I found out what happened with my daughter and my ex, and I kept begging the social worker, please, please, please. I had text messages and phone calls every single day telling her, like, please, I need to see a therapist, I need to see a psychiatrist. I lived out in 29 Palms. It was not easy. There's like one therapist out there. There's like one grocery store. There's one laundromat. It's stuff like that. So there, it was a long wait to get in and to see anyone. And I had all these kids, and I was by myself, and I had no boyfriend and no family and no help, and I had nothing on my side. You know, I didn't realize God was still there, but I had all these text messages to prove to the judge after they came in to remove my children after 2 DUIs. I did get 2 DUIs with my kids in the car because I turned to drinking. I was working a full-time job. I had a brand new car by the graces of God. I had my own house. I was single for the first time in my whole life, not being controlled by anyone. I had all these beautiful blessings were coming my way, but I was still hurting and still suffering from what had happened with my daughter and my ex. And I begged them every single day, please, please, please help me. And I had the text messages to prove it. So I got 2 DUIs in 2 months apart from each other with the kids in the car. The first one was actually my fault. I was drinking and driving with those kids in the car, and I do regret that. But the second one, come to find out, I was only checking my mailbox, and you got to use your car to check your mail, because my mailbox is about a mile and a half, 2 miles down the road, and I hadn't been drinking. And come to find out, when I hired a Beverly Hills attorney after the second DUI, he came in and he said, Shierlyn, they just duplicated the first case. The only thing that's different on this report is the dates. The blood alcohol level was the same, the locations were the same, everything was the same. And I was like, wait, what do you mean?
So I'm confused. They created like a DUI, but you weren't even pulled over or anything?
No, I was checking. I was going down the road to check my mail.
But did you get pulled over?
Yeah, he just so happened to be coming. The police officer just so happened to be coming up my dirt road, which I'm the only house down this dirt road. He just so happened to be coming down this dirt road. And I was checking the mail with my 2 daughters, with my 2 younger ones, and my 2 older ones were in the house. And so the Beverly Hills attorney that I hired, I gave him $5,000. I just filed my taxes, and I gave him $5,000, and I said, show up to help me with these hearings. The social worker that was a part of they were doing family maintenance with me for the molestation thing, or the sexual battery. She came in and she said, she called me after the first DUI, and she said, Shierlyn, I'm going to have to remove the kids. And I said, no, I already checked myself into outpatient. I know what I did. I've been begging you guys for help. I've been begging you guys over and over and over again. And I started self-medicating, and I messed up. I really did mess up. And she goes, well, you got yourself an outpatient. You're already testing. You're already doing NA classes and all that. And I said, yeah. I had, by the time it happened on, I think, a Friday, by the time Monday came, I had already enrolled myself, and I was already doing everything that I was supposed to do without any advice from anyone.
When you said that you had been asking them for help.
Yes.
What do you mean?
I was texting and calling those social workers. There was 2 social workers. I was calling and texting them every single day, and I was saying, please, did you get the judge to sign off on a referral for me to get in right away to see somebody? And they kept telling me, no, he hasn't signed it. He hasn't signed it. Guess when they finally came in after the second DUI that I got, they called me up the second DUI, and they said, Shierlyn, we got to come and take the kids. And I said, I know. And they said, do you want to fight it, or do you want to just hand them over? Because we're going to tell the judge what your choice was. And I said, of course, I don't want the judge to take my kids from me forever. They kept saying to me, like, do you want your kids to go to their pedophile father, or do you want to get your kids back? You need to do what we tell you to do, so they don't go get molested by their father. Do you want them to get molested? And I said, absolutely not. Of course not. Why would I ever want that? And they told me, okay, so hand over your kids. And I said, okay. And then I said, but I've been calling you guys and texting you guys every day. I have proof. I had the text messages, I had the call logs, I had all that. And guess what happens? That I have there are two social workers. They're in a van and they're driving down my dirt road, and you can see them coming from a mile away. I can see all the dirt just coming. I have all my kids were on the patio with me, and we could see them coming. The social worker's holding this paper out the window, flying down my dirt road, and she comes and she gets out of the van and she goes, "Well, here's your referral." I said, the judge finally signed the referral for me to see a therapist and a psychiatrist. She said, yeah. I looked at the date. It was 2 days before my first DUI. She goes, I'm so sorry. It was underneath a stack of papers. I didn't even know. 2 days before my first DUI. I could have been getting help. And you know what I realized? That I would love to just tell everyone right now, because my lawyer won't help me with it. I would just love to tell everyone this right now. I've figured out all their flaws, all their problems, all their they get these trap phone numbers, these little they download the apps, the text now apps and stuff like that on their phones. It didn't dawn on me until God placed it into my brain. Not but I think 3 weeks ago, when I was telling the social workers, can I record you? They said no, but you can text. We can text you, and then that's when it dawned on me. You have to call the front office when you're dealing with these social workers, and you have these trap phone numbers that they talk to you on, even though you're not allowed to record them and stuff. When they say no, if you call the front desk of the offices that they're at, and then you say, hi, may I get so and so's name and number, these girls at the front desks, they will allow you to record them. So you record them, and they'll give you the name and the number, the trap phone numbers. And we call them trap phones because they dispose of these. Because when I showed up to court to show the judge, look, I've been begging CPS for help for months, several months, every single day. Here's my proof. Here's my text messages. Here's my call log, everything. You know what that social worker did before my court hearing? Because I told her, I said, I'm going to tell the judge what you did to me. And she deleted that number. And it was almost as if it never happened. So if you call the front desk and you talk to these girls on recording, the front desk girls, they'll give you their names and their numbers. And you show up to court and you say, look, here's my proof, even though they wouldn't allow me to record them, and they can lie and say that you were having these fake conversations with yourself or your friends or something. Here's the front desk girl who gives us her name, and they'll say the such and such office, and they'll give you their name, and they'll give you the social worker's name, and they'll give you their little spare numbers. And then you'll show up to court with the judge and you'll say, here you go. They said I could record them. And then they'll say, see, it's true. I didn't know that until recently, because my new social worker, she goes, no, I won't let you record me, but we can text. And that's when it dawned on me. I said, okay, we can text, because I've already called the front office and I already got your chat phone number from the front desk. So if you try to go to court and you try to say, no, that wasn't me, I didn't say those things, and I didn't do that, and then nope, it's already right there. Had I known that back then, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, because the judge would have been like, this girl needs to keep her kids. She's been begging us for help. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I could probably share with the entire world. If I could share anything, it would be that, because that saves lives. It would definitely show the judges that these social workers aren't doing their jobs. I'm sorry that my referral was signed by a judge and it was buried underneath a pile of paperwork. But if it was signed for 2 days before I got my first DUI, my kids would have never been removed. They never would have been sexually abused. They never would have been verbally abused. They never would have been, they're being, kept from God right now. They're being told that they can't go to church, and they can't read their Bibles, and their positive affirmation boards that I have for them.
Wait, you're saying they can't go to church and stuff like that?
Well, the caretaker, who just so happens to have been my best friend of 13 years, she loves going to church and she loves doing all that stuff. So I couldn't understand why she would not want to take these kids to church. But the only thing that I can think of is because she knows how much God loves my children, and God loves even her. But she's not reassuring my children that they're going to be okay and that God loves them, and she's not having them read their Bibles like I've asked for. I've asked for them to read their Bibles, and I bought them this light up board. And you put like little, like I sent her a link to all these positive affirmations. So every morning when they wake up, they light up their board and it says like, you are beautiful, you are this, God loves you, and here's the, just all these positive things that to keep reminding my children that they're loved, and that they're going to be okay. And even if mommy and daddy's not there, and at least God is, Jesus loves them, and they don't want my children to know that. My children, they don't have my children pray like they do at home with me. They read their Bibles, they pray. They're good kids. They do and say wonderful things. They're around, drugs and alcohol. They're around all these things. Like, they know all these parents that they give my kids to. They smoke marijuana, they drink. Some of them do even harder drugs, and I brought that to the department's attention, and the department will want to always shut me up. They always want to shut me up. They never let me speak to the judge. They never let me do anything to prove how they just need to be fixed. They just need some policy changes, because not all these social workers are bad. I just realized recently that the social worker who was a part of my first case, he was a wonderful man. He told me, and you know what, since it's already out, it doesn't matter if it's national or local or anything. He told me, he said, Shierlyn, you're a wonderful person. And if you don't get your kids out of California, they're going to steal them from you. I can promise you that. They're going to take your babies from you. And he said, get them out of California now, as soon as I close your case out. And none of it made sense to me until recently when I tried to call him for advice. They said he no longer works there because he hid my pregnancy. I have a almost 4-year-old son. He hid my pregnancy from the department so they couldn't steal my children. He wrote on the reports. He didn't mention my baby at all. He didn't say that I was pregnant with them, and I didn't know that he was hiding all these things. I didn't know. I thought because I was telling him the truth that I was pregnant. I kept asking him, "Are they going to take my baby? Are they going to take my baby?" I showed up to court the day that they were closing my case out. I had my baby on my shoulder like this. I walked into the courtroom, and everybody's face just went. And I'm like, why is everyone looking like this? They all knew that I had a baby. They all knew that I had a child. And I look over at the county council, and she looks at me, her jaw just hit the table. And she gets on the phone and she's like, what is she doing with the baby? Why does she have a baby? Even though it was the day that they were to close my case out. They had no idea. He hid it from them. My pregnancy, the delivery, he hid everything because he knew I was a good mom. And he knew that I wasn't heavily into drugs like they were accusing me of. And he knew that I wasn't messing up. He knew that I wasn't. And he warned me, Shirley, get your kids out of here. Please get your kids out of here, because they're beautiful, and you're such a great mom. And he even went as far as, I know that he's gone now, so it doesn't really matter. He went as far as he kept telling me, like, because they'll give you $15 gas cards for 2,000 miles worth of stuff to do. 2,000 miles worth of stuff to do. They will give you one $15 gas card if you're lucky. This social worker, he was giving me like $200-300 worth of gas cards, because that's what it would cost for their services to actually help us reunite with our children. He was giving me $200-300 for the gas cards every single month to make sure that I reunited with my children. That's why he's gone, because he was a good worker. I called him all of the good workers, and they're all gone. They were all fired.
Let me ask you, your case, is it still open right now, or is it closed?
It is. I go to trial on March 2nd.
Do they still have you doing drug tests and everything?
Yeah, I am still doing drug tests. I drug test. I got myself into drug and alcohol. I randomly drug test for them. I drug test for CFS.
How long have you been clean?
I relapsed. And I admitted it. I relapsed last week. On alcohol and marijuana. I did.
And you said that you have used methamphetamines before?
I did.
When were you using those?
Um, when I lost my job at I lost my job. I was a waitress at a very, very good restaurant. I did end up losing my job there, and my my ex had brought the drug around, and we were both really depressed, and I started using, and the social workers knew that I was using. They knew that I was using. They knew that I was in a domestic violence relationship, but they were trying to I don't know if it was for good or for evil. I don't really know what it was, to just give me the choice. They're trying to give me the choice to make the right decisions. I don't know exactly what they were trying to do, but they knew that they knew what predicament I was in, and they ended up helping my they ended up helping my oldest daughter's father take her out of state, even though I have 2 years of documented abuse from him and his wife. They kept sticking her in and out of psych wards and stuff when they gave her back to me last year. So the in and out of psych ward thing didn't really help too much. Trying to keep her on pills, and just they kept me from giving her productive, positive things to do. Like, she wants to do photography, and she's a good artist, and they stopped her from wanting to draw, and the photography thing, I kept saying, like, let's reward her good behavior. Let's give her a hobby instead of her focusing on all the bad things. Let's give her a hobby. Let's give her something that, let's my son's father had brought it to my attention. Like, we should make her, like, help her get into like a boys and girls club type thing, to where she could be like a big sister for little kids, for younger girls that suffer from, mental um mental problems and stuff, like the depression and all of that. We should give her a positive hobby, and they stopped that.
So, where are you on your case right now?
I have a lawyer that hasn't helped me at all. I have all my evidence, all my proof of everything. I'm not too sure if it's the lawyer or the social workers or anyone, really, to be honest with you, that's prevented me from filing all of the proper documentation, the proper evidence, the proper proof, the proper everything. I don't know who it is, or why, or what. I don't know if it's God. I have no idea what it is. All I know is that everything that everyone's done has done nothing but, whether it was for harm or for good, it's done nothing but God has always turned it around, and turned it into something beautiful and wonderful for me. So I think I am going to have to go into trial on March 2nd, even with all the proof that I have, purely on faith. I have to. I have no choice. I have no choice. Either to ask for a Marsden hearing to get myself a good attorney. The money issue is even a problem right now. Somehow, some way, I've been prevented. Even one night when I was supposed to go file some stuff, the headlights were taken out of my car. The headlights, so I couldn't even drive at nighttime, to where I could get down the hill to do what I needed to do. There's a bunch of one of the neighbors. I'm not too sure. To be honest with you, I wasn't out there, so I don't know. I asked the neighbor, because he does control a lot of what goes on in this complex, and I asked him, I said, why did they take the headlights from my car? And he said, maybe they just needed headlights for their Suburban too. And I thought to myself, like, well, that was just me, because like they'll break into cars and stuff and just take whatever they want. They don't do it very often. They only do it when there's a reason, but it's little things here and there. Like I said, there's a lot of people that are trying to play God with my life, but we all know that there's only one God. So as much as people might want to turn it around and make it some evil thing to try to hurt me and to get me to, want to give up on life. God is still there, and God is still in control of each and every one of these people and each and every one of these things that's going on. So and if I can't find a miracle, if I can't get an attorney that will help me with my case, I do have to just strictly purely go in with just faith, because it's less than 10 days away, and you have until 10 days before the court hearing to submit all your evidence, all the evidence that I have.
Did you watch my interview with Mr. Dean Tong?
Yeah, did you realize that you were asking him all of my questions? What do you do with the whole, when the social worker called me up and I said, why are you taking my children? She said, you never should have called my superiors.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you asked again, you asked about 3 more questions from him that were mine. Those were my questions.
Did you find his answers to be helpful?
Absolutely. It just, with no money, I can't get a lawyer that I need. I don't know why, I feel like God led me to the lawyer that took your case, the one that handled your case, Mr. Davis. I did send out he sent back a book. His office sent back that book, the How to Fight CPS and Win. As soon as people were distracting me, telling me, you don't need to read that book. You don't need to. I had it sitting around for months, and then I started reading it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's all too late. You know what I mean?
Not too late.
Well, I mean, it's too late to submit anything before trial.
And I do want to apologize to everybody that's watching. I know you know, but I am not feeling well. I'm sure you can see it all over my face. My tube, because I think, most people know I have tubes in my stomach, but I've been suffering and struggling with one of them being infected, and it's really taking a toll out on me. It's making me very, very sick. So I look like crap, and I feel like it.
Oh, you're beautiful.
Thank you.
That's crazy that I admitted that meth thing, because I never admitted that to anyone until, obviously, other than God and one of my preachers from my church. I had never admitted that to anyone, but yesterday I just so happened to, God placed it upon my heart to just confess it to the social worker, because I'd been trying to hide it, because they try to make it seem like I've been a long time meth addict, and like I've just my whole life I've been doing meth, and I'm just like some horrible person, and it's not true. It's really not true. And I don't like being lied on. It took God for me to be okay with the whole, you know, I'm being lied on thing. And so what? All that matters is what God thinks, and God doesn't judge me.
Yeah.
So it really did take for me to realize that before I admitted it to the social worker. I did tell her that I did have a problem with that for a little bit, since the March, May, since March of last year.
Till how long?
I'd say probably almost a year, off and on. I had my little few months in between of Sobriety.
March last year is when you got clean?
No, it was when I started. March, April of last year. Because I was let go from my job on furlough. I'm a waitress.
When
And
was the time that you used
the methamphetamines?
Yeah.
It's been probably I'd say maybe a month.
Your drug test didn't ever come back dirty?
Not for that, no, because I really was clean. I really wasn't cleaning out my system or anything. I was testing dirty for marijuana. I did give them I think 2 or 3 tests dirty for marijuana. But whenever I did test, I was kind of glad that the whole marijuana thing was showing up, because even though it's not good to have anything in your system, it's better than them saying, here, this is why this is happening, because she's on meth, and not. It's
So
not
you
work.
trial next month in 10 days?
I have trial on March 2nd, so less than 10 days now. Yeah. So I asked my attorney, I said, so what do you mean? I'm going to trial? Like, and this morning he tried to get me to because I don't want my 15-year-old son, they wouldn't subpoena the social workers, they won't subpoena anybody that needs to go on there and say like, hey, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. They don't want to do that. So they only approved my neighbor right across the way from me to be subpoenaed, except they erased their apartment number off their fence. So I couldn't even give them an apartment number. I just know their names and the address. And I just found out just literally today when the mailman came what their apartment number was. And they were going to allow my 15-year-old son to testify too, because they kept saying like nobody could testify on your behalf that it wasn't because of drugs, that you were being scared and all that. They didn't bring up in the court paperwork, the court documents. The social workers didn't tell the judge about the domestic violence. They didn't tell them about my grandmother's murder. They didn't tell them about any of this stuff happening right. The cops who had used me as bait to catch my son's father. I mean, my ex, who's in jail right now. They they didn't put it in the court documents that they had used me as bait to catch him. So I was dealing with all of these crazy things all within a short window of time. They were, kidnapping my other daughter, sending her off. I was fighting for my baby to get him to come back from Connecticut. The judge wanted to have him arrested for stealing and alienating my child because of the current family law orders. I was having all these things happening all at the same time. And they didn't put that in the court paperwork at all for the judge. She didn't know anything. She didn't know that there was DV. She didn't know about the death. She didn't know about anything. They just wanted to say they wanted to take my kids and adopt them out, do solely based off of my old drug and alcohol problems with weed and alcohol and mental health. But ever since God healed me, I don't feel that depression and anxiety and stress and all these things. I might have the whole world is falling apart all around me, and I don't feel all those things that I used to feel. So I'm not needing to be heavily dosed up, and I don't feel the pain and the suffering, even with all these things that have happened. God has taken it all for me. It's like the best I can think blessing out of anything.
Right. You brought up about like how your kids aren't allowed, or not allowed, but they're not being raised in the
Best environment.
well, the godly environment that you would be doing if they were at home. And I don't know if you've heard my story, but I was actually told at a visit one time, because my visits were supervised for a long time, and I was told I wasn't allowed to initiate prayer with my kids anymore.
Oh yeah, they don't like that. I said, why?
Can't do that.
Yeah.
The right that we have.
My kids have rights, and I tried to tell them my kids do have these spiritual, they do have religious rights, and my children love God and they love Jesus, and you should see their faces when they're reading and they're learning about him. They are just their whole everything. They're just, it makes them so happy, and they feel like, you know what, like I don't have to be scared of this person. I don't have to worry about that person. I don't have to fear all these things. And my kids are even being allowed to be around the pedophile almost as much time as I get with them. I think that they're trying to help overturn his conviction, because they've now labeled me and my daughter liars and crazy and druggies and alcoholic, and they've labeled us all of these things, me and my children, me and my oldest daughter. And I believe that he might be trying to get his conviction overturned so he can get my kids back. I'm not too sure. That's not 100%. But it is something that God just keeps placing I just have these epiphanies, and usually it's when I'm doing long drives by myself or when I'm in the shower, because those are the two times when I'm by myself that I just, all these visions just start coming in. Like, here's why this is happening. Here's this, here's that, here's this. Like, I just keep getting all of these visions, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost just as overwhelming as almost anything else. And that's why I think I relapsed. I think I relapsed because it was so overwhelming. I guess God giving me the truth about everything. Like one thing after the other, like so fast that it just became so overwhelming, and it was hard to deal with. It was like, oh, it was like I kind of wanted to numb it. Like, I was like, no, there's no way that this is how it is. There's no way. There's no way. And of course, he didn't want me to relapse,
what
but
I
he did.
what I was gonna say um, about the prayer thing, not allowed to initiate it, is I had an alarm on my phone set for me and the kids, because you can fall into habits of praying just before bed or
Yeah.
for
Before they eat.
meals. Yeah. And so what I did was I created an alarm to just go off randomly in the middle of the day, to just pray. Let's stop what we're doing right now and pray. And so I just got done being told you cannot initiate the prayer. Well, for some reason in that visit, I brought my phone in, which I never bring my phone in. Well, my alarm went off, and both kids said, "Oh, it's time to pray." And I will never forget the look on the supervisor's face, just
Yeah.
complete and utter disgust with me. And I said, I hadn't initiated it, nor did I pray. They did.
Yeah, see, then they love that. I ask my kids all the time whenever I was on video chat with them, I'd say, you guys, have you been taking your vitamins? Have you guys been praying? Have you been brushing your teeth? Because that's important. And they know that. And they'll look over at their caretaker and they'll be like, well, no, not really. Like, no, you guys know better. You guys know that you guys need to pray. And so they cut off all the communication. They're making it to where they know that my car is broken down right now. They they they're trying to make it my visits almost virtually impossible. They're trying to not make it to where my 15-year-old son and my two daughters that they don't bond. They don't want them to bond at all. They're refusing to, even though it's court ordered that I was supposed to have gotten my face-to-face visits. They keep giving me to social workers that are out sick with COVID or whatever, and then this little circle of social workers. They implant themselves into my case, and they make my social workers think that they're trying to help alleviate like their caseloads and stuff. And they tell them, they go, oh yeah, well, I'm a part of the case. And I love to know that these social workers do have buttons to push, because this social worker said to me, this thread is only so that way you can just text me and the caretaker and yourself, and we're all going to be a part of this thread, and it's only for visitation. You're not allowed to console her about her grandparents dying. You're not allowed to call and make sure everyone's okay, and you're not allowed to do this, and you're not allowed to do that. And so I tell her, she says something snarky to me, makes a little remark to me on this chat, this little thread. And I said, excuse me, she says, this thread is only for visitation only. And I said, you're not even my worker. You pretended to be a therapist. These social workers were pretending to be therapists. Before my children were removed, they were doing Zoom sessions with my daughter and me. And they were making us think that they were real therapists. And I would say, I took screenshots and I screen recorded, because I knew something was up. God kept telling me, like, Shierlyn, there's something up with them. So I would screen record.
Wait.
They did that.
No,
Yes.
Social workers pretending to be therapists.
Yes. I have the Zoom. They're on Zoom. They're on Zoom because my daughter, she was wetting the bed ever since she was taken in foster care to begin with in 2016, because they were torturing her. she started wetting the bed, and she never got over it. And she misses her baby brother, her one that was, you know, alienated and kidnapped from us too. And she wets the bed. And the only way that I can get her to not wet the bed is if I set an alarm for 3 a.m., 2 or 3 a.m., and I'll pick her up and I'll carry her to the toilet and she'll go to the bathroom.
Right, but
she won't wet the bed.
How do you know?
How do I know that it's them?
Right. How do you know that it wasn't actually therapy?
Well, I know I'm not allowed to say their names on this, but when you do a Zoom like we are right now, you know how it says like your name on the bottom corner like that?
Right.
How it says that? Well, they didn't even change their names. They didn't change their names. Their names are very, very their first and their last names are on these things.
I mean, this is like
I promise you it's the truth.
No,
yes.
I believe this would be considered like criminal
activity. Yes. I'm telling you, criminal activity since 2016. I'm a target, and I just recently met someone who they call it gang stalking.
Yeah.
I've been a target because my beautiful, lovely children who love their vegetables and their fruits and they pray and they listen and they adapt and they're obedient. They love my kids. They want my kids.
I think you need to call and talk to Mr. Davis.
I've been trying. I tried. They said that it wasn't.
Call this Sunday on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like God led me to you. Do you know one day like you just popped up, your thing just popped up, and I was like, oh wow. Like and every time I say a prayer, every single time I pray, like, God, please just give me something, give me a sign, give me something, please. Something will pop up. Like something will just drop in. And then you dropped in one day and I was like, oh wow. And I just kept following and following and following. And he was just like, stay obedient, Shierlyn, do what I'm telling you to do. Follow her. She's your way. And I knew I've been trying to get Mr. Davis for a long time, but they said that there was all of the appointments were booked up. And
thing is if there is a way to prove this information, you have a huge lawsuit on your hands.
Oh, I know, and they know it too. They've been hurting me since I was born. They haven't helped me since I was born. We were being tortured, absolutely tortured as children. Instead of them just giving us to like my grandma, like I begged them to do. Just please leave me with my grandma. Please, I get fed. I'm not getting molested. She's putting me in cheerleading. She was doing all these things that my mom refused to do. And they said, no, her boyfriend killed your dad. So what? My dad would go in there and he'd beat up my mom's boyfriend, my grandma's boyfriend all the time because he would get drunk and he would abuse my grandma. So my dad was feisty and crazy and stuff, and he'd go in and he'd beat the crap out of that guy. So that guy, one day, he just so happened to be prepared, ready, waiting for my dad while we were all standing there, my mom, my aunt, my grandma, all of us, all of my siblings. We're standing right there. He pulled a double barrel shotgun out from the couch and he blasted his face off right when he ran into save my grandma. And that's what CPS used against me. Not being in a good home. They didn't want me in a good home with my grandma because my grandma caused problems. CPS even got her arrested. They told her to file for welfare for us when we were temporarily with her. And then they ended up going to welfare and lying through their teeth. And they got my grandmother put on San Bernardino's Most Wanted for welfare fraud. They threw her in jail to shut her up because she was writing letters to all the way up to Washington about them.
So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down a very quick, short outline of your case for Sunday.
Okay.
I want you to be very specific about, was there a warrant or anything given to you when they took you?
She texted it to me. She changed her number after that, but yeah.
I want you to write that down. I want you to write down the therapy sessions.
Oh, and I have proof of that too. It's all proof. There's all proof of all of it. There's emails. There's all that. Zoom sessions. They didn't even change your name.
Okay, hold on. I want you to write these things down. Because Sunday, I have Attorney Vince Davis and Dean Tong on.
Both of them. I've been following them for so long.
So I want you to call. When you call, Joe, I need you to quiet down, please. Joe, I am doing an interview and I need you to quiet down. So I'm not sure what part of that means. Be louder. No. Quiet down. Clean up, please. Take a breath.
That's how I got that social worker to stop harassing me, because I told her, I said, I screen recorded you doing a Zoom therapy session with my daughter. And she said, no, you didn't. I said, I know what you look like and everything. I have it. Your name's even at the bottom of the screen. And she goes, no, you don't. And I said, yes, I do. She finally stopped harassing me after I told her that. The other worker that was the therapist, they moved her out of the other one onto, they pass them around. They send them off to different offices, so you can't track them down.
Well, an attorney can. So I want you to call. When you are on hold, I want you to call at the very beginning of the show. When you are on hold, I want you to text me, and you're going to get my number from my assistant. After this, you're going to message the page and text me and say you're on hold so I can make sure your line gets answered.
Thank you so much.
So I need you to listen again. I'm going to repeat myself. You only have a couple minutes.
Okay.
Don't ramble.
Okay.
Don't, be prepared.
Yeah.
Have your points, your facts. And then let's see, because I've interviewed you now, I will be able to add, if they ask a question or whatever, I can kind of help direct you.
Yeah, I do seem to ramble. I'm sorry.
No. It's not a problem on this show.
Yeah.
But the reason it will be a problem on that one is because from commercial to commercial, there's less than 15, it's like 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And I want you to get the most information possible to direct you.
Yeah.
So you're going to get the information from my assistant, but I'm going to give the phone number out for anybody who wants to call in. It's 1-800-222-5222. And it's KABC 790 AM radio. And it's going to be this weekend on Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. Make sure you follow our pages to always get that information. But get my private number from my assistant.
Okay.
And message me. And then
okay.
let's, I want to do an interview number 2, a part 2 after your hearing, your trial.
Okay.
So I can know what's going on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're going to be calling on the most perfect weekend radio.
I know. I've been following those two for years. For 6 years, I've been following them.
With an expert and an incredible attorney. Couldn't pick a better time to call.
It's God's timing. It wasn't mine.
Right. Okay, stay online. Tell everybody goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for everything, all of you.